NJ.com and the Star Ledger welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights, with your hosts Steve Politi and Rutgers insiders Brian Fonseca and Pat Lenny. Let's start chopping.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rutgers Rant, our picks edition for the Maryland game. Picks pod, the final regular season game, man. I tell you, football season's like life, man. You just wait for it to get there, and before you know it, it's gone. How about that for a little Rutgers Rant philosophy? Whew, coming at you strong here.
Very strong. I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to have this conversation at my Thanksgiving table tomorrow to try to get down to the purpose of life. This is a lot more philosophical than the Rutgers Rant usually is.
Yes. One day you're taking photos of your kids. The next day you're sending them off as, oh, look at the little kid photos for the 8th grade yearbook. The season's over. Life is speeding past, and then you die. Anyway, Maryland. First, all right. So what do we got here? So Brian and I won last week. Pat, you got killed on a really close line again. Vegas has been so on target with these lines this year. It's unbelievable. What was it, 20 and a half?
It's 20 and a half, and it ended up 21.
It's amazing. Man.
Think of the two pushes, too.
Unbelievable.
If those went either way.
Yeah. So we'll make our picks in a minute. We'll do some boomer zoomer. Let's talk Maryland first. It seems like this is the same team. Like Rutgers is staring back in the mirror. Both teams are 6-5. Both teams started really hot. Maryland 5-0 at one point before kind of falling apart there against some hard losses, but they also lost Illinois and Northwestern. So they had some bad losses mixed in there, but played Michigan tough in the last game. So I don't know if that's an encouraging trend for this team. I mean, what do you guys think the Scarlet Knights are going to see from this Maryland team?
I say Maryland is a lot like Rutgers in most things, except how they run their offense philosophically. Rutgers runs, occasionally passes. Maryland passes. Every once in a while, they mix in a run. They obviously have one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten in Talia Tagovailoa. The kid has thrown for 3,000 passing yards each of the last 3 seasons, which would give Rutgers fans heart attacks of joy if they happened at Rutgers. So if you got a guy like that, you should be slinging it all over the yard. And that's been part of the problem for Rutgers in the past 3 seasons. They've lost 2 years in a row against Maryland. They had to go to overtime to beat them in 2020. That's my biggest question, is Rutgers. I know we've been praising the secondary, and they've been playing pretty well this season. Can they handle Maryland's passing attack? I think that's going to be a very big key in the game.
Pat, the thing that sticks out for me, and it's still in my head, is the 37-0 loss last year. And Greg Schiano addressed it. He talked about it at his press conference. It couldn't be any different this year compared to last year. He even think the comment was like he wanted to get away at the end of last season.
He needed a break, yeah.
He needed a break. And that's all you need to know. This guy lives and breathes this stuff. For him to need a break tells you what. So it is a different thing. Do you have any takeaways, though, when you think about where that team was compared to this team?
It was kind of a real head scratcher the way that they got pounded last year by Maryland, like completely dominated the game. I didn't expect that one to be such a blowout, and it really turned into this horrific ending to the season for Rutgers. So I think they're clearly past that. They're a different team. Rutgers was still floundering last year with no offense and quarterback carousel and all that. So I think Greg's right. Greg Schiano's right when he says that feels like 10 years ago, because to me, it really does. The one note I wanted to address is that when you think of Maryland, you think of the quarterback and you think they have a really good offense, of course, like they're going to score a lot of points. That hasn't necessarily been the case. And you would think that, and you also think that like Maryland doesn't have a great defense, but I took a little bit of a deep dive into Maryland's defense, and it's not Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State good, but it's still pretty good. Maryland ranks like 35th in total defense. They take the ball away at a high level. So I think Rutgers is really going to put a premium on protecting the ball in this game, which means a very vanilla offense and a lot of running the ball.
Just what the fans wanted to hear, Pat. That's great. Are they going to be able to run the ball against this defense, you think?
I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people imagine. But I will say Kyle Monangai will get the 19 yards he needs to get to 1,000 yards for the season. And I think Monangai is good enough to have a pretty decent game against Maryland. So I think Rutgers will be able to run the ball. And when you factor in the way that Wimset's been running the ball, they have to let him, they have to turn him loose on the ground.
Right. Brian, this is an important game. This I come back to when I think about last year. The one thing that Greg Schiano kept on saying throughout the year is like, we're going to be a better team at the end of the year than we were at the beginning. And that was untrue. I mean, there's no way you can look at that and say Rutgers got better. Now, granted, Rutgers also wore down, had some injuries, had some, I think at the end of it with some guys had punched out. All that understandable given they were 4-8. It's different this year. And I wonder now, Rutgers was 6-2. They've lost 3 straight games. All right, well, we can say the competition was the reason they lost those 3 games. You can certainly point to those defenses, but you also wonder now, are they the team? Can they show the flashes of the team that won the first 6 of the 8? Like, is that team still there? I'm very curious about that.
I think so, but I think the key thing that is similar to last year is that they are getting worn down. I mean, you saw in the Penn State game, guys are falling down like flies. Guys are really pushing through to even be on the field, which is admirable, obviously, but it does affect how good you could be on the field, how effective you can be. So I'm curious if you're going to be able to power through with a lot of these injured guys, nicked up and having to, Johnny Langan, I thought he would never get back on the field, and suddenly he's running back on the field for the third quarter.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's incredible. And I think part of that is why they want to win this game so badly. They want to give these seniors who Greg Schiano said in 20 years from now, when they come back and Rutgers is playing for Big Ten championships and national championships, which was one of the most interesting comments I thought Greg Schiano made all year. But his point being, when those guys come back, they'll feel some ownership of that progress, and they'll feel like they built the foundation for it. And part of that is always a nice send-off. If you win this game, first winning season at Rutgers locked up since 2014, most Big Ten wins in a season for Rutgers ever, 4. They've done 3 previous years, 14, 17, and 20. Granted, 2014, which was probably their best season in the Big Ten, they only played 8 conference games. So maybe they would have gotten an extra one had they had the 9th. That's neither here nor there. But the point is, that's the main difference to me that from last year is like last year you're 4-7. You can't make it to a bowl game with a win. You're kind of just playing out the string. This year, there's a carrot at the end of the stick. There is a reason to want to play. You're playing at home too. It's senior day, a lot of emotions, and it's Maryland. You don't want to be in a 3-game losing streak to Maryland either. So I think there's a lot to play. Will they be able to use all that to win? I'm not so sure about that, but I do think there will be a lot of juice in the building.
All right, let's talk about those seniors, because I think we get to know these guys if they're in the program for a few years. Now we've got some that feel like they've been in they've been in the program longer than the two of you have been covering the program, it's just pretty hilarious. Johnny Langan's one of them. I wrote about just all of the changes that have happened in this place while Johnny Langan has been here. It's nothing short of remarkable. I mean, all right, the 2 head coaches, great, but he's had. You can't even, depends how you count the number of offensive coordinators. Do you count Nunzio Campanier twice because he's had interim offensive coordinators twice? I mean, he's get different systems, different positions, came as a quarterback, leaves as a tight end, in between, wildcat quarterback, short yardage guy. I mean, he ran the ball. It's just all this different ways he has been used in this team. It's just, I mean, it's nothing short of remarkable. And there was a great story Greg Schiano told about him when he was down in the field. And again, we kind of looked from the press box. Is this serious? And when you see Johnny Langan, he can't walk off the field on his own. You're like, oh, well, that's it. He's done. And even the ref had said to Greg Schiano, like, that guy's been in this program forever. Is he going to be okay? Like, even the ref was concerned. And he comes back into the game. And you're like, you see him out there, and it's just, I mean, he's just floored. I mean, it just speaks so much to how much can't call him a kid, how much this person has cared about this program over the years. He's a guy who deserves an ovation when he comes out there.
The image of Johnny Langan that sticks in my head is that Purdue game in 2020 where they literally said, here, Johnny, take the ball, win us this game. Right. Yeah. He ran the ball maybe 100 times in a row. He's like, the sideline camera showing him bleeding from his face, just licking the blood up off his lips. Like, the guy would, I don't think he would die for the program, but he'd come pretty damn close. And I think that's something that even in the depths of the Chris Ash era, when things are looking very bleak, you could point to a guy like that and say, this guy cares so much as I do, if you're a fan. And I think that's something that beyond the wins and the losses, like, those are things that fans will cherish and take with them. So I think Johnny Langan, like, I think the guy's not even worried about, he's playing through a lot of pain. I don't think he cares about that. I think he's worried about, can I play for my teammates, for the fans, for the university? And I think you can't ask for anything else from a college football player than what Johnny Langan has done for this program.
And it's a dying art, Pat. That's the other part of it. Like we might not. We're never going to see another player like that. And just because of the transfer portal, the COVID year, all these things. I mean, think about that. He came as a quarterback. Pretty much it was very clear early on he wasn't going to be how many people stay in that circumstance these days?
Yeah, not many. And I loved your column the other day that you wrote about Tommy DeVito being Jersey's guy, right? Like Tommy DeVito, the Giants quarterback, being as Jersey as possible, and this Italian stallion from North Jersey. But don't forget, Johnny Langan is also in that category of true Jersey grit and always has been, going back to his Bergen Catholic days. Like this guy was beloved by everyone. Like he was as much of a legend in high school football as there was, and then went to Boston College, and it was a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, okay, he wanted to play quarterback, so that's why he went to Boston College, but he always felt like just such a Rutgers guy. It was remarkable when he made the decision to come back, and a big part of it was because Nunzio was his right-hand guy, and he was at Rutgers then. And I just think that Johnny Langan is a little bit of like Paul Mulcahy. He was Jersey's point guard. Like Johnny Langan is Jersey's football player.
Yeah, football player. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Some other guys are going to get honored that I want to mention. Deion Jennings is a guy who springs to mind for me. And it was just after this game in Penn State where you're talking to him, and he's been the guy we've requested a lot. He was the guy we requested in Indiana because we thought he could speak to just how far the program came. It's the guy you request when they lose because, he can stand up and take questions, and he's been around the block. And I was thinking to myself as I'm listening to him, like, this guy's, I don't know what his future is going to be in football, but like, I can see him in a boardroom. I can see him, leading people. He's just like the guy who, and this, again, someone who's come through this program who, he's a different person leaving this program than I remember coming in. I guess Mayans is sort of in that category too. Just guys who've stood up there and answered these questions for us. They really have represented this program well at high level.
High character guys. And I know that that's not stuff you see on the field, and all that stuff matters too. But we do get to see these guys in these difficult circumstances. It's not easy to stand in front of us and look us in the face after you lose a game and answer questions essentially that are like, why did you guys lose? It's not fun for anybody, but those guys do it, and it's admirable. It really is. And just so many guys. Greg Schiano was running out of names to list because he was worried he'd forget some. I'm sure he did. But the Mayan Hantus, Deion Jennings, Johnny Langans, just all these great stories.
Is anybody going to walk tomorrow that has a year of eligibility left? Like, I think Max Melton, most people agree he's got a year left, but he's going to go pro. Is anybody else going to be out there that we know of who's going to take the roses from mom and all that stuff that could come back if they wanted to?
I don't know who is walking specifically, but I do know like Mo Toure has another year if he wants it. Reggie Sutton has another year if he wants it. I believe Flip Dixon has another year if he wants it. Max Melton, as you said. Robert Longerbeam, I believe he's a senior eligibility. Yeah. A lot of guys. Aaron Lewis, I believe he's a senior. I could be wrong there.
Lewis is a junior.
He's a junior.
Okay. Well, there are plenty of guys who have decisions to make, whether they want to go to the NFL, come back, or even just, in Reggie Sutton's case, maybe even retire, right? Like, I think that's a legitimate question he's going to have to ask himself. So I think we won't know. I asked Mo Toure yesterday. He said he hasn't really thought about it, which I saw him tweet that Saturday was the last stop on the revenge tour, and he spelled tour as Toure, which I thought was a nice touch.
Revenge tour. It sounds French.
Exactly. But he did not say either way. I don't know if he hasn't given it any thought or not, but at least publicly, he's not giving a shake either way. But you probably won't hear these decisions until after the bowl game gets announced, have some time after the season to reflect. And then that's the next question. One, are guys going to stay or leave? And two, are guys going to play in the bowl game? But we'll talk about that on the next pod.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there are some that should go. Like if you're Max Melton, some of them are just you got to give it a chance in the pros. I do wonder though, it's going to be the deciding factor, Pat, between this team being good or a chance to be very good. Guys like Mo Toure.
Kyle Monunga is a guy we haven't mentioned either, right?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah,
it's a big deal. I've been wondering, like every week, Greg comes in and he talks about the pros on other teams. They have pros at wide receiver and safety, and the defensive ends are pros. I'm really curious to see, like, if I could give Greg Schiano a truth serum, like who are the most legitimate pro prospects on this team? Because there are a lot of guys that could be in the NFL on this team next year. And exactly what you're saying is who comes back and who doesn't is really going to be a make or break type situation for this team for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think guys can look at also, like, you might see a guy and say, maybe he's not quite there, not quite draftable. You have a former teammate in Christian Izien who left for the NFL early. People weren't really sure, doesn't get drafted, and now he's starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, and obviously you see Isaiah Pacheco, one of the last picks in the draft. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL. So I wonder how much that plays into decisions too. Like, I've seen these guys who I played with. I have a measuring stick. I know how they looked. How do I look? I wonder how much that will factor into.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, they've got to consider all that stuff. It's not an easy decision. But you do not fault a guy. You cannot fault a guy for thinking of themselves in this decision. You only get so many years. Like even Pacheco, very few pro careers go past 5 years. You've got to grasp it when you have the best chance, and they have to make the decision. Are they going to have a better chance this spring or next spring based on that? So it'll be interesting to see. All right. You want to make some picks? We'll make some picks. All right. It's between me and Brian now, Pat, unless
I can still tie.
You think the two of us are going to pick the same time, same game each? Are you kidding me? I'm letting Brian go first right now, in fact, to ensure that doesn't happen. If you're willing to go first, I went first last week. I think it's only fair that you should go first this week. Maryland minus 2.5 is what we decided.
Yes, that was the combination of multiple lines across multiple books. We thought 2.5 would be the most fun. Or, well, you did, and you decided everything about the podcast, so we're riding with it.
And since it's a half point, you would have corrected me if I said, let's go Maryland 2 and split the difference. Because there's no question it would have been a 2-point Maryland win if we had done that. So
no doubt about it. We control the lines. Anytime we do a straight point line, everyone should bet the house on the push if you can. Yep. I don't know if you could do that. Anyway, Maryland minus 2.5. I think that's a good line. This is one of the more difficult ones, I think, we've had all season. I've been wrestling back and forth. I really do want to pick Rutgers to win because I think it would be one of the better wins they've had under Greg Schiano. I think it would be a big emotional release. I think it would be a big achievement to get to the 7-win mark, to win 4 Big Ten games, to do all that. I can't get past the idea that they're so banged up, and they've been historically struggling against Maryland recently, but in part because they do play the last game of the season and guys are banged up. I think the juice will give them a good start to begin with. I think they'll be in it. I think ultimately Talia Tagovailoa and the offense will be too much, and I think they'll give up a late touchdown to lose the game. I think it'll end up being Maryland 24, Rutgers 17.
All right. So I'm going to pick Rutgers, and I was going to pick Rutgers even before you picked Maryland. And my reason is I think they're stronger in the trenches. He's making a face at me like, yeah, I don't believe you. All right, maybe I'm lying. It doesn't matter how I came to this conclusion right now. I'm picking Rutgers. I think they're going to run the ball. I think they are. I think they're still hanging in there in the trenches. I think they've won every toss-up kind of level game this year. And there's a certain point, and I do believe this. I do think the better coaches are on the Rutgers sideline. I really do think that. And then I think you're going to see that edge in a close game and the way you can't see it against a better team like Penn State or Ohio State. And it's a home game. I think they'd be motivated to get the 7 wins. There's not the same situation last year where you're looking at this and just trying to finish the season. I think they see the idea. I think they recognize this would be a Big Ten record. 4 wins, and I don't think they want to. I think there's a sense that this team feels like it's better than the last 3 games for where this has been. So I'm going to take a Rutgers victory. I think Gavin Williamson's going to play well. I know we've said that in the past, in this pod in the past, and been wrong, but I think it's going to play well. I think it's going to be a 27-21 Rutgers victory. There you go. Pat, break the tie.
I will break the tie in favor of Politi and the Scarlet Knights. I just look at this matchup and I see Maryland's strength on offense is its passing attack. Rutgers' strength defensively is its pass defense. I think Rutgers is going to continue the success that it's had against the pass and make it a little bit difficult for Talia Tagovailoa. So I think that's a good matchup for Rutgers. And I think this is, like you said, Steve, a game where they can get the running attack back on track. We know that when Rutgers runs the ball, it generally has success offensively and looks like a different team. So I'm banking on the fact that Rutgers can run the ball against Maryland, and that'll be the difference. I think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring. So I'm going to go 2017 Rutgers.
And you all know that everyone who listens to the pod know I've got trouble pronouncing certain names. I have the phonetic spelling in front of me of Talia Tagovailoa. I have it spelled out phonetically to make sure I could get it right. And I never said it. And I got through this. So I just want to say it now. Talia Tagovailoa. Joe Harasimiak. I'm on fire.
What's the men's soccer coach's name?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I can't. Jim McElderry.
McElderry.
That's what I knew it. There was one that I was convinced was the right one, and then you said the wrong one. You said the right one. I was like, oh no, Brian said it wrong again. That's the one. McElderry, of course.
Okay. Yeah, I put it on a post-it note on the wall behind your computer.
Yeah, I didn't know we had to talk soccer today. I have,
You're talking to me. What else are we going to talk about?
That's a good point. All right, alumni game. You ready? So Maryland, this is great. This is every week when I do this, I've been disappointed by like the Penn State's the quality of alumni from Penn State. I thought was poor, and I felt that way against Iowa a little bit, and even Ohio State. I'm like, there's got to be better. Maryland, let me tell you something. Maryland is bringing it. They've got some high quality celebrity, good name alumni from Maryland. I'm telling you, like, it was very impressive, and to the point, Pat, that I think he's going to get all 5 of these.
Wow,
right?
Wow.
I think he's going to get all 5, at
Maryland.
least four. So
I think you're pushing the P here on purpose.
I'm pushing the P. So I'm going to say going to get. So instead of the usual over/under, I'm going to say.
Listen, I'm going to agree with you. He's getting all 5.
I'm going to put the over/under on. I'm going to put the over on 4 correct. If you get 4 correct, you win. 5 correct. I mean, you push 5 correct, you win. Whatever. Anyway, you know how it works. Okay.
He's going over.
Whatever it is. All right. First one point.
Scott Van Pelt.
No, I'm not giving you Scott Van Pelt. Come on. Well, this is basically giving you Scott Van Pelt. Number 1, Larry David.
The creator and main actor of Curb Your Enthusiasm and the writer of Seinfeld.
There you go.
He went
1970, graduated with a bachelor's degree in study of history and business administration.
Wow.
How about that? Huh. Wouldn't have guessed that. Did not know that.
I thought he was a New York guy. I would have thought he went to Columbia or something.
Yeah, me too. But there he is, his unsmiling face on the top of this list. All right. 2 points. Jim Henson.
You know, the issue with you setting this up as being really easy is that when I hear a name I don't know, I feel very dumb. I feel very dumb right now. I'm going to guess Jim Henson is an actor.
Oh, no.
Getting sweaty just thinking about Jim Henson, an actor. No, I mean, technically, I guess there's some level of no. Pat is shaking his head violently at Jim Henson, the actor. If I give you an impersonation, hi ho, this is Kermit the Frog. You mean any help there? No.
I'm supposed to know who Kermit the Frog is, like who the guy.
You're supposed to know the guy who created all the Muppets. Yeah, I think most people would agree. You know, the man who invented the Muppet Show, the Sesame Street. Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy. No, Pat, was this too hard?
That was easy.
Did you know? Okay, all right. I'm not crazy, right?
Course. Jim Henson. Yeah, that was a layup.
No, I'm worried about the next 2.
I just watch the cartoons. I don't ask who makes them.
Wow.
Okay. They're not even cartoons. They're puppets. They're Muppets.
They're puppets.
Same thing.
All right. Okay. A little surprised. I thought that was a 2-foot putt, but all right. For 3 points, Connie Chung.
The
Maryland grad Connie Chung.
One of the many powerful, strong alums of the journalism program at Maryland. Yes. She was a TV reporter, I believe, for NBC.
Absolutely. Correct. Yes. I'm not sure what network. Yeah. No, I knew definitely NBC. Yeah. She for years. She has it's now the Parkway rest stop here near my house is named after Connie Chung.
She's from Jersey?
I would assume so. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. There you go. Okay. For 4 points. Sergey Brin.
He's the founder of Google.
Yes, he is. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. There you go. I was a little sure. No Jim Henson, but not Sergey Brin. I'm a little surprised by that. Okay.
I'm of the generation that's addicted to the internet, not to the Muppets. So that's more my wavelength.
All right. That's fair. And finally, for the win, David Simon.
David Simon, the guy, the Wire writer, right?
Yes. Yes. I knew it. I thought that you'd get the last couple. He was editor of the Diamondback. He was the journalism equivalent of you could have you could have written for TV. You could have come up with one of the iconic shows of the history of television. Instead, you're on a podcast with me and Pat.
I could have written the third greatest show of all time. Oh,
could have third greatest. What's number one on? What's 1 and 2?
The Sopranos and Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay, it's a good list. Solid list. Good job. Finish strong. Well, not finished strong. We'll do one more of these for the bowl game against some random ACC fan base, Georgia Tech. See what kind of engineers came out of there. But well done.
Famous Yankee alums.
Brian, you are not a Muppet.
Hey, thank you. All right, that's all I need.
That's a millennial slang word, I guess, too.
Muppet?
If you call someone a Muppet.
Is it really?
I have heard people refer to you as a Muppet before.
I would think that'd be a compliment, depending on which Muppet.
It's very British, I think.
Call me
Swedish
Beaker.
chef.
You're Swedish, exactly. Beaker, Swedish chef. I'm not Gonzo. What the hell is Gonzo anyway, Pat? Any ideas?
Oh, he's just a great, hilarious Muppet. One of the
Perfect.
classics.
Yes. Let's just say to all the listeners, there was 5 minutes cut out of this podcast. I asked Lanny, who is Gonzo? And his answer led us down a path where we had to cut 5 minutes out of it. You can just imagine what we said, but we had to cut 5 minutes out after that question. Zoomer?
We'll get to the Zoomer section of our game.
What do we got? What do you got for me?
Pat, you want to go first?
Sure, I will go first. Let me pull it up. Okay. The word is trill, Steve.
Trill?
Trill.
Okay. I mean, not in the sense of that word is normally used, like when you're like over emotional and that with trill. No, that's not trill.
Word, but
is that, I don't know. Is that a word?
Combination word that we've thrown a lot of words that
combination
are combination.
So would it be? It would be like kill and thrill. No,
yeah, something like that.
Something like that, but not those two.
Correct.
Man, I don't. Give me a hint.
Let's see. Gonzo is probably the trillest Muppet.
Gonzo's the trillest Muppet. I'm sorry. There's so many ways I could go with Gonzo being the trillest Muppet. I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, this is a combination of the word true and real. So when you're trill, you are very honest and
I see.
You are what you are.
So you think Gonzo is triller than, say, I don't know, Miss Piggy? Absolutely, right?
Oh yeah, Miss Piggy is, she's always flirting and she's trying to put on a lot of makeup, right? Like a trill person wears no makeup because they're proud of who they are.
That's true. Good point. Okay. Gonzo was the trillest Muppet. That was a good use of it. But good. Now I learned something. There you go.
You'll remember that.
I will. Yes.
Also, Mike Loxley is a trill guy.
He does seem very trill.
He
says
it like it is.
He does seem trill.
My word is, I think, appropriate for the week we're in. It's Thanksgiving. You're going to have a lot of food, I imagine, tomorrow. Mm-hmm. The word is bussin'.
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 Could you use it in a sentence involving Gonzo? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to do it. Bussin'. That's when you're, when you're bussin'.
It's an adjective.
It's an adjective. Oh, when you're so full, you're like your pants are bussin'. No,
that's actually a pretty good guess. It's creative. It's a way to describe the food. Like you'll be having the stuffing tomorrow with the cranberry and be like, my goodness, this food is bussin'.
Okay.
It's a way to say that food's good.
Food's good?
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Man, I tell you, you've done better on Boomer than I've done on Zoomer. Bussin'. The food is bussin'. This is bussin', man.
Yeah.
You can use that in a lot of contexts, not just food, right?
You can, but primarily it's about food. And I would advise you against using it in other contexts because you never really know where the slippery slope of bussin' goes. So
Is that right? Okay. So I shouldn't praise someone. I shouldn't say, Pat's writing is bussin'.
that's
It's a bussin' story. No,
I don't think that's how it works.
can't do that. Okay.
No,
Gonzo's the bussinest, the trillest, bussinest Muppet. No, can't do that. Okay.
Now we're really just playing ad lib. I think we should.
We should move on.
I think we should move on.
Right.
This podcast is going way off the rails. Jesus
It's
Christ.
not too late. Off the rails.
I already
All
know
right.
what the picture is going to be on our
Yep.
tweet.
Oh, you better believe it. Yep.
We
You
are
better
limping.
believe it.
We are limping our way towards
And
the.
so people are gonna be like, "Did Gonzo graduate from the University of Maryland?" Oh,
This is great.
yeah,
The great Gonzo.
that's good. The great Gonzo. Yes, that was the whole thing.
You guys watched way too many Muppets, man. This is
Come on.
too much Muppet knowledge.
That's I get a lot of. I believe me.
When you're deep in the thralls of basketball season, I want you to watch a Muppets Christmas Carol because it's an absolute classic.
Yes, and yes, and I believe like Gonzo's like I think he is Charles Dickens, right? Doesn't he?
Yes, he's Charles Dickens.
He
in
is
it.
Charles
He's
Dickens.
the narrator.
He's the narrator. Yeah, this is good.
I'll give it a shot.
Absolutely. We're in the season. The Muppet Christmas Carol. That is some good. That's a deep dive, man, right there. Because the Muppet movie, everyone, we used to have the Muppet movie soundtrack on LP, man. That was some good stuff. I put that on right now. Listen to a little moving right along. That's some good stuff.
So it's a musical?
Yeah.
The Muppet movie is like a musical. It's not entirely musical, but there's a lot of musical numbers. Absolutely. Yeah. Great movie.
I'm not a big musical guy, to be honest, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Muppets.
Good to know. Good to know for future Boomer Zoomer, not to include in the famous musical theater people.
Or opera people while we're at it. Let's keep it strictly to.
I already deduced that based on other things. All right. Anything else? What else we got? I don't think we want to talk about the women's basketball giving up like 37 points in a quarter to Fairfield or something crazy, or perhaps we should let that go. No men's basketball news. Nothing to talk about.
I would say I will have a story up tomorrow on Thanksgiving or Friday. We'll see about just the last two guys to break 1,000 yards at Rutgers, Juwan Jamison and Ray Rice. I spoke to both of them in recent weeks. It's taken a little longer for Kyle Monangai to reach the mark than we had expected. As Pat said earlier, I would be very surprised if he didn't on Saturday. And those two guys are very happy to see it. They're very they're big fans of Kyle Monangai. They've independently said they love the way he runs. And Juwan Jamison said it's like passing the torch. It's been 10 years or so since he broke 1,000, so he'll be passing the torch. And Juwan Jamison, interestingly enough, is similar to Monangai in that Monangai is going to have an interesting NFL decision to make after this offseason. I believe Juwan Jamison, after his 1,000-yard year, did go to the NFL.
He did.
Stuck around for a little bit. Now he's not in the league, obviously, but I asked him what Kyle should do, his advice, and he said just to weigh all your options, get your grade back, and go from there. So
people were sort of surprised, if I remember correctly, about Jamison jumping at the time. It didn't work out, but I mean, I think he was drafted, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, late round pick, maybe.
Right, he stuck around for a bit. I believe he was with the Steelers. So, but yeah, it was surprising to me looking back because I think he had that was his one real good year, and then he went. So we'll see if Kyle Monangai, what he decides to do after the season.
All right, gents, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Get big plans. What are you gonna? Looking forward to family, friends, turkey, ham. What do we eat? What do the Lannies eat? Is there an Italian Thanksgiving feast here? What do we got?
Nah, very traditional Americana. I gotta go pick up the pies today, so
Nice.
we'll do a little apple pie, maybe a little pumpkin pie, of course. So
Beautiful. And the Lannies? I'm sorry, and the Forsakas, what do you guys have for Thanksgiving?
Pretty standard Thanksgiving. We bake a turkey, some nice stuffing, some cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, and then we have a bunch of Portuguese desserts to top it off.
Beautiful.
And, yeah. What about you? What are the plans?
Yeah, well, so we're late. We're gonna have a big feast. We have the turkey. We also get a spiral ham now. Like I'm a late comer to the spiral ham thing. It's just fantastic, especially because you can have that like in a sandwich or breakfast the next day. Just eat the hell out of some ham for 4 days. So that's gonna be my plan. Looking forward to it. We'll see you guys down at Maryland Rutgers season finale, final game at SHI Stadium, and then we'll be back next week to talk about it. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant. To participate in the conversation and receive live updates about the Scarlet Knights directly to your phone, sign up at NJ.com/insider.